What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is iRate Reviews, the show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, and let you know whether it's something to go back to the shop for or not. So make sure you subscribe to get more of these every single week. The book I'm going to be talking about right now is Batman the Devastator #1. So, Batman the Devastator #1 is the latest in the line of the DC Dark Knight's metal tie-ins that deal with a specific Dark Knight from the Dark Multiverse. And in this case, it's the Devastator. And the Devastator is a hybrid of Batman and the Doomsday virus that he created. But if we're going to be talking about this, let's just jump right into the story. The first panel we open up with in Batman the Devastator #1 is the clear-cut vision of Superman encapsulated on that human battery platform with the purple energy glowing through his eyes that are, and it's just a very serious voiceover by this Devastator Batman, this Doomsday Batman hybrid. And he's talking about how he wishes he could have seen a little bit earlier the serious issues that would have been caused by Superman. And then immediately we jump into a situation where he's talking about the various things that went on when Superman was thrust into the Dark Multiverse by Flash and Steel and stuff like that, as he was sent to retrieve the Anti-Monitor's tuning fork. And we see a battle with Lobo where he's calling Lobo essentially, he is super depressed. Everybody that came to, fight the Devastator with, hope in their hearts, he dispatched them easily. Lobo was, a fearsome foe inside his own universe. And what happened to him? He became weak as he was hanging around with these various fools. And, the Devastator just takes Lobo's own chain, throws it into his chest, and hurls him into the sun, basically. So, it's a pretty rough end for Lobo overall. Then we jump over to what was a day ago, and that's where we see Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen taking part in the Daily Planet, and Jimmy's doing some research, and Lois is asking for information on Challengers, the Challengers Initiative, and then ultimately she's headed out so that way she can hop on a boat, on a truck to Gotham with the Red Cross, so that way she can get a little bit more inside scoop on this situation. She runs into a very familiar face in the lobby, though. This is Bruce Wayne. Not only does she confess that she needs to put on a brave face for everybody, but, she's looking for a little bit more information as to what Clark is, and then that's when we realize that the Devastator has come to Metropolis and uses Lois Lane as the patient zero, the one that is going to infect everybody when it comes to this Doomsday virus. And then we go into a little bit more backstory. At this point in time, we also go back into when, Bruce, with Kryptonite Spear that looks very much DC Cinematic Universe. And what the revelation is that he never knows what causes Superman to snap in this Earth -1 universe. So when you're talking about Earth 1, it's like Superman Earth 1, Batman Earth 1, Wonder Woman Earth 1. This is that universe, and this Batman is facing off against that Superman, and Superman is on a rampage, just tearing down buildings for the pleasure of it, feeling as if the humans are the insects that they were once deemed by, say, like Zod or some other Kryptonian supervillain. And, Bruce, in these desperate measures, he hits a button on his belt, and he's injected himself with this Doomsday virus that takes him over and builds this armor around him. And he thought that he would once, he would feel that compassion. He was hesitant, he figured that he would be hesitant to do that he would, slow down, that he would not be able to kill his best friend. And that is very much not the case, as we see him impaled on one of Doomsday's spikes after breathing this kryptonite breath into Superman, making him vulnerable for that point in time. At that point, we actually jump back again into where the Lois Lane storyline's going. John, she's back at her house. She's tracking down John. She pulls him in off the balcony, throws him into a safe room that's impenetrable by anybody, including Superman, before she starts to turn into a Doomsday monster herself. And at that point in time, the voiceover kind of continues. They go back into the situation where, Superman is going to watch his world burn because of his own hope, his own idealism, his own infection of this positive energy into this bright world that made them weak and that did not give them the strength to defeat him when they knew that he could be the ultimate problem, and that Barbatos is going to fix that. Superman is going to be the downfall of the universe and draw it into the Dark Multiverse. So that's where we kind of end this story, and overall, I'm pretty entranced by the way everything works. Just like the Merciless was a little bit thin on backstory. We don't get a lot of reason into the conflict as to why Superman, we get no reason, actually. Batman doesn't know why Superman flipped his shit and then became this murder machine that was just devastating everybody. But then we see that Bruce's greatest fear was his, need to take down Superman. Like, after he knew that they were friends, like after they had become such bonded compatriots in battle as members of the Justice League, and then such close personal friends as Bruce and Clark. So, it was a great fear for him to be able to do this, and then he overcame that in order to survive, to build a better world, and then he felt that regret that he hadn't done it sooner. With that as the backbone of the story, I feel that it was a pretty strong, well-structured piece. There was a little bit of continuity when it came to the overall narrative, the narration that's coming from the Devastator is kind of like this kind of retroactive retelling of this story. It kind of jumps around a little bit. There's a little bit of conflict between panel construct and where those things are. But overall, I think that it was pretty well conceived. I think that Tony Daniel did a pretty fantastic job. His Lois Lane looks a little bit off to me, just a touch, but still very attractive artwork when it comes to all the character models. And if this is any indication as what he's going to do with damage, because his Doomsday, his Devastator, his Bat Doomsday is superbly rendered. I just love that big hulking monster look with all the jagged protrusions and everything like that. It just felt visceral, it felt alive, it felt real, it felt like rough to the texture. And if that's what he's going to be doing on the Damage book that's going to be coming out with DC's New Age of Heroes, I can't really complain, and I'm really excited for that book. But as far as Devastator's concerned, I really like it. I mean, the Red Death is the first, so it's always going to be one of the best books out of the groupings for me. I would definitely put this one above, I would put this above the Dawnbreaker. I would put it almost equivalent with Murder Machine. The Drowned is kind of in there. I think the Merciless Murder Machine, Devastator, they kind of fit just below the Red Death as far as an introduction for one of these characters, with the Drowned being pretty good, and then the Dawnbreaker being probably what I would consider one of the weakest, because it just feels like a Green Lantern story, not a Batman story. So as far as the Devastator is concerned, definitely a must-buy for people keeping up with Dark Knight's Metal. It's really cool, and it pushes the DC universe forward, kind of like Merciless did. It didn't focus too much on the backstory and the introduction of the character. It focused mostly on pushing the story forward and kind of getting you in tune with where DC's Dark Knight's Metal #4 is going to go, and possibly the Batman Lost storyline that's going to be coming out next week. So overall, highly recommended for me. Definitely something that I would say that you need to check out. But I want to know what you guys think too, so hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.